everyone, it's Coach Vicki, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Optimal Life with Coach Vicki, where you can find balance and take charge of your life in both personally and business and learn to have fun along the way. Today, I've got another special guest with me, and I'm excited to have Robin here. Robin is owner of the Phoenix Heart Healing. On it, she supports women and moms to transform anxiety, depression, and overwhelm into lasting calm, connection, clarity, and confidence. We all could use some of that these days. So we're going to just kind of talk a little bit about what Robin does and some ideas and tips on how she helps her clients and how she can maybe give you some suggestions today. So welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Vicki. It's nice to be here with you.
Good, thank you. Tell us a little bit about why you do it and how you got involved with what you're doing, and then we'll go further in there.
Sure, sure. So why I do what I do is, again, like you said, I support primarily women and moms. And I am someone who has experienced a lot of challenges myself, and particularly as a woman, and as a mom. Motherhood has been one of the greatest tests for me in my whole life, which I imagine every other mom watching this is probably like, And and what I have come to discover over the course of time is that it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, and that there are even really simple tools that we can use to help ourselves feel differently, to feel better about ourselves, to be able to start setting boundaries and saying no when we want to say no. And I know for moms especially, and women in general, that's a really challenging thing to do a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it is. It definitely is. And like I said, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I go into is when you could find that balance between your work, your life, your faith, your beliefs, whatever it may be,
Yeah,
the better you are balanced, the better you are for everybody.
exactly. Yep. Yep. That ripple effect is not just like, some woo-woo idea. It's
Yeah.
like really, yeah, it really is a thing. Um, yeah, and so how I got into this is I would say it goes all the way back to childhood, although I'm not going to tell you my entire life story. But I was born as a highly sensitive person, as an empathic person. And so I could look at somebody and tell what they were feeling, and
Mm.
oftentimes tell what they were thinking. And then years later, it was kind of a thing that I didn't know wasn't typical. It was just like part of, who I am. It's how I came in. And years later, I would start to notice then that if I put my hands on somebody, that I would get even more information. And it was kind of like, whoa, this is a thing. And I started realizing also that wasn't something everyone could do, or even many people. And so little by little, I just started pursuing, kind of some different workshops and things, and started really realizing like, okay, I've got something here. I've got a gift that eventually needs to be shared in some way. And then there was one evening I was living in the Bay Area in California, had to kind of just moved there not too long before, and so I was in this big place of transition, and
Hmm.
and I was looking up at the sky like, okay, universe, if I'm going to do something with this gift, I need a sign, like I need something.
Yes.
Um, and then the very next day, I saw on Facebook that a mentor that I had worked with years before, who also then happened to be living in the Bay Area, Sylvia Brallier, she had put out this call for her Shama Soma practitioner training program. And it was just like, bingo, thank
Yeah.
you. Like, what wonderfully quick turnaround. Put
Yeah.
it out one
Sometimes when
night.
you ask, you'd be
That's
surprised at the
right.
other, but you got to be open to listening,
That's right.
for it. And
Yep.
it
Yep.
is, and it is whatever your faith is, to it. If
Yeah.
it is the universe or if it is God for me, but if
Yeah.
when it's that higher power that you are tapping into
Yeah.
to use what He's given you or the strength that they've given you to then in turn now use for someone else or to share with.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah, well said, well said. Yeah, and so, the rest basically is history. That was a year-long practitioner training program, and that ended back in 2013, and then have taken some other different workshops and trainings and certifications along the way. And
Oh,
so
cool.
now I have this this very wide, varied toolbox of different practices, techniques, processes that I can use with my clients to really kind of tailor and customize what their healing journey looks like because it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
And that is the main thing. Like I said, a part of my program is it's got to be customized because there's some standards to it at all, the basics, but everybody's different. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's starting point is different, and everybody's end goal is different. To what
Yeah.
my title of my company is Optimal Life, but it's what optimal life means to you is not the same to
Exactly.
somebody else. But once you tap into what that is, then taking the journey and enjoying the journey to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even, for a lot of us, it's kind of eventually settling into the idea that the journey is even more important than the goal.
Yeah, then the outcome. The journey,
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the journey more than anything else. And the journey hopefully will never really end because you're
Yeah.
at a different part of your life after you get to that point. Technically, where the end or the goal is, you're hoping there's another journey because if not,
Exactly.
life's stagnant.
Right. Then yeah, we don't necessarily want to reach a plateau,
Yeah.
right? You want to be like kind of steadily growing and then plateaus when you need that rest, relaxation, integration period, or when you've got other stuff going on in your life that
Mm-hmm.
requires more attention. But then like eventually you want to start like kind of climbing up again, so to speak, not in a hierarchical sense, but
Yeah. No,
just
it definitely is
progress.
because
Yeah.
otherwise, as part of humans, a part of our thing is a strive to want to achieve and do and
Yeah.
make a manner of how our life have made some kind of impact, even if it's
Mhm.
on one or two people or on thousands of people
Yeah.
for it. And like I said, to me, what I try to teach, what I want is people to realize with these episodes and these interviews that I'm doing is there's different types of coaches or people for different seasons of your life. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're going to be with me forever or with Robin forever.
Right.
We will help you, give you the tools and guide you through where you need to. And then you may go to a different type of coach or something on there because you're in a different season. But the point of it is step into it. Step
Mm-hmm.
into
Yeah.
realizing that you are worth taking that first step of
Mm-hmm.
whoever is your first step.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and just like I love that you said that. So what it brought to mind for me is how the healing starts with the clients who work with me at the time that they say yes. And it's not in that first session. It's before, typically I'm offering a free breakthrough session so we can get to know each other and talk
Mm-hmm.
about it, see if it's a good fit. And it's at some point in that breakthrough session or even within the day or so afterwards where they're just sitting on the decision. When they say yes, they tell me like, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter already,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because they're committing to themselves, and that is like the ultimate thing to the healing journey. Nobody is going to make that commitment for you,
Nope.
right? Like that's just not how it works.
And no one's going to do the journey for you. Will come in and rescue you, type of an idea
Right.
on it. You have to realize, and it goes back to realizing you are worthy of it. And if you don't have that,
Yeah,
then that's where you maybe need a coach that helps build that part up for you as
totally.
well. I know as part of my business, I do that too. Is I like starting with those entrepreneurs who are in the beginning phases to learn those structures and those systems and those beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
strengthen in themselves to grow a business.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, no matter how many things, you have to believe in you. You have
Mm-hmm.
to feel clear or released or relaxed, that I'm sure you work with your clients
Mm-hmm.
so that they can pursue whatever their goals are.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
normally something is holding us back from our past.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And they're right. The limiting beliefs don't come from nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they don't. Trust me.
Yeah, it can be that came from our family, our family lineage and beliefs and experiences, traumas that then have kind of grown in the family history to equal certain ways of being and ways of thinking, ways of feeling about things, our own personal life histories, of course, whatever challenges and traumas we've endured that then, become internal messages that we carry forward. I mean, there's so many kind of different places. And that's a really huge piece for me of the work that I do is using a variety of different techniques to get to the root of the issues, self-limiting beliefs, blocks and patterns that, we like, it's like, this just keeps happening to me. Why the heck can't I like find a really good relationship? Or how come I can't, call in the financial abundance that I want? And, and oftentimes it actually has nothing to do or sometimes little to do with the actual theme that's the challenge. It's like something way back when that happened that then created this whole domino or like snowball effect. It's really hard to track by yourself.
And that's the key thing. It is, because and it's hard to track by yourself, but it's also hard to track with family or friends.
Oh my goodness.
Because they know you as this and this is it. They don't see, and if you start to change, they're the ones who kind of hold you back because they don't know how to handle the change. So that's where a coach or like you said, a healer or whatever you believe in or use works, because it's somebody who could be objective and positive to you and not hold it against you. You don't feel, and you could open up more. And I found it myself with some of the coaches I've worked with, different things. We were working on a speech for something, and it opened up a whole other stuff because I was writing for the book, the chapter. I wrote a book about myself on it. It was about my limited beliefs and stuff, and it brought in other things, type of an idea. But it realized how much one thing does interact with another.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So why don't we go a little bit, what is your actual, I guess, system, or how do you kind of work with people when they come with you?
Yeah. So as I said towards the beginning, I have a vast array of different tools that kind of come from different teachings, different trainings. And so my system doesn't like really have a name or a title, but I'm a Shama Soma practitioner. I'm a certified EFT or emotional freedom technique practitioner, which those of you may not have heard of that, but you may have heard of tapping.
Yes, I've tried that a few times. I like it and I believe in it, but I just haven't gotten it to that, that brain goes this direction type of thing.
Yeah.
But it is definitely, I've used it a few times. It is, and the emotional tapping, nothing else. And then with, I've done with oils, people have done it with, and there's different ways of doing it, but definitely it's.
And that's one too. That's one in particular that's really good to have a guide working with you, because I have come across like all these different YouTube videos and things like that where it's like, ooh, that wasn't really part of my training. And I know there's different schools, there's different approaches, and yet working with somebody who really knows the system and knows the structure and the format and can be with you in the process, guiding yourself in most modalities is really hard.
And it is, because you're not sure, am I doing it right, or am I not doing it right, anything else, and when you have somebody to guide you through it, you are more likely to get the benefits out of it quicker and lasting than trying to do it. And that goes with anything for it.
So those are some of my modalities. I'm also a compassion key practitioner, which is relatively recent certification for me and just something that I love so much.
What is that?
It's basically applying self-directed compassion to the wounded younger parts of ourselves. That's like the summary. And the bit, like the principle behind it is that what is met with compassion dissolves. And for me, that's just like, that's just feels really soothing and sweet. And anyway,
so it's working with that, like that inner child.
Yeah, largely. There's a whole, I don't want to get into too much of like all the.
No, there's definitely. But I'm just saying, some people might have heard, like you said, getting to communicate with your inner child, and getting the
Yeah.
like you said, to understand what's going on with it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
that's
yeah, really getting, again, back to those roots and the origins
mhm.
of the things that we've been through. Yeah. So basically, I largely work with my clients in a 3-month session package.
Okay.
So clients have a series of sessions, and it's interesting having the conversations about this session package, because some people like have this like, oh, I don't know, the commitment and
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, and the difference between what happens for somebody in that kind of container when they know, like when as the client that you're going to have this many sessions and it's going to be over the course of this period of time, it's something that you can really like lean into and relax into, more than just like, oh, I'm going to schedule this one now, and then maybe in a few weeks I'll try this other
Yeah.
technique. And it's such a different approach, and you get consistency of support, you get consistency of accountability, and that can be really huge too. It's like, okay, well, checking in with a client since their last session, like, have you been practicing at home the things that we did last time? And oftentimes the answer is yes, and sometimes it's no. And then we can, without judgment, we can explore like, okay, so what's happening there? It's different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it
why
is. And,
might
life
it
happens and
be?
things come into it.
Yeah,
But I'm sure you work with them. It's like, don't put yourself down. Let's work on it and let's
right,
reconnect and move
right.
forward. But
Yep.
that's the difference of like when you don't have a coach to do that, when you try to do it on your own and something, you wind up not going back to it because there's no one
Yeah.
holding you accountable
Yep.
to stay on that path that you wanted this, and I'm here to give you that encouragement and support to make it through,
Yep.
because
Exactly.
life does get into the way a lot of times
Totally.
on
Totally.
there,
Yeah.
and sometimes it will, you may have to step back from something, but the thing is when you do it on your own, you'll never usually step back into it, or not anytime soon.
Yeah, it takes so much more. What I often tell people is like, most of us cannot be the facilitator and the client at the same time. It's
Yeah.
just like,
No.
it's really hard for your brain, for your nervous system, for your body to try to be holding both of those places, or operating both of those roles at once. It's just, yeah,
Like I
it's
said, as a
hard.
coach, I have a coach. They
Right,
say, well,
exactly.
coaches have
Yep,
coaches. People have
yep.
nothing else, because you can't, a doctor has a doctor. They don't, um, treat themselves.
Right.
You know,
Thank goodness they're not writing their own prescriptions, right?
prescriptions, type of an idea. You have to go to somewhere else for it to know.
Yeah, exactly.
There.
Yeah, I'm in two healing programs right now, where I'm the client in an ongoing session package. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go to therapy once a week with my husband. It's like you got to do the like get the whole picture, right?
Yeah. And that's what I want people to realize, that they are worthy of the whole thing. But the investment you put in now is a lifetime
Yeah. Yeah.
investment.
Yeah.
It's not a gift that you're going to get and use it for a month or so. It's going to be a gift that for a lifetime, and hopefully for legacies down the road, generations down the
Exactly.
road.
Exactly.
Because when you could
Yep.
change, you change the generations down,
Mhm.
because how you are changes then how you treat your family and how they goes from there.
Yep.
Same as it went from generations back to
Mhm.
you.
Yep.
You can be the same generation, or you could break that.
Exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned that too, because that ends up being a lot of the women that I work with, is the generational curse breakers, as some people would call them, or call us, because I'm one of those, where you realize that, the ways that you operate, that you learned from your parents and your grandparents and from your family history, that aren't actually in alignment with who you are,
Yeah.
those are the things that can be so hard to break because they have been ingrained in you for such a long time. And yet they're so important to look at, to examine, and then to begin to heal and clear and transform. And like I have clients who tell me that, like, oh my gosh, I just like feel like I am able to be really present with my kids now in a way that I couldn't before.
Yeah.
Like, I can just be with them and play with them without feeling anxious or without feeling like, I should be doing something else in this moment. It's like, no, I had 10 minutes, I had 15 minutes, and we just like played with blocks on the floor or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
No, it is. And it's the point of finding that, again, balance between your work, your life, self as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Because we
Yep.
always forget about that part, that self
Self.
part,
Oh my gosh.
that, and it's not that you're going to spend 8 hours a day on yourself and nobody else. It's a
Right.
balance between. But even if you get that in your morning routine or your evening routine, that 15-20 minutes of just self meditation, prayer, just zenning into yourself, or just doing nothing
Right. Right.
on that is important for you as a
Mm.
person to grow and develop and keep your sanity. Yeah, if we
Mhm.
say.
Right. Right. Yep. It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. That focus on self is really paramount to everything. And it is so unfortunate that many women, and as I've already mentioned and we've talked about a little bit, especially moms, like we get into this role of self-sacrifice and giving to everybody else, and just checking off the things on the to-do list, making sure it's like, oh, if everyone around me is all taken care of, then I'll be okay,
Yeah.
then I'll have time for myself. And if you operate that way, well, guess what, you're probably never going to have time for yourself.
Yeah. Well, it goes back, and I'm sure you've heard it before, that they say when you're on an airplane, the oxygen mask comes down, put it on yourself first, then the person you're with, because what good is putting it on them if you're unconscious? And it goes the
Exactly.
same way as if you don't
Exactly.
take care of yourself and you become sick, or you come out of the commission, or really depressed or overwhelmed. How are you supposed to help and take care of others?
Exactly, exactly. There's a quote that reminded me of too, which is like, if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness.
That's a good
You
one. I
know?
like that. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we don't realize it sometimes till we're in that illness.
Right. Yep.
you know
Right. And yeah, and so many people, and moms and women in particular, we can just ignore the signs too, because oftentimes there are signs that are going to be coming, that we're getting burned out, that our body in some way is shutting down or becoming unwell,
Yeah.
and
And
it's like, yeah, 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 yeah.
we just ignore it and say, well, later on I'll have to deal with that. I'll get to that. But
Yeah.
all right, well, what is some kind of tip you can share that we can,
Yeah.
as a viewer, could start using on our own to start making whatever progress you want us to make?
That's perfect, actually, because one of the things that I really love to share are breathing techniques.
Okay.
And what I really encourage my clients to do is to use these like throughout the day. So for people who maybe don't have an easy time with having a morning practice, like myself, I have a 4-year-old daughter. Like, I'm parenting from the moment I wake up. I don't really have a morning practice right now,
Yeah.
at least until she gets off to daycare, um, and so having techniques that you can integrate into any moment of your day is really kind of like where the magic can happen. So one of the things that I really love, this is like one of my favorite techniques, is long exhale breathing.
Okay.
So right now, what I'll invite you to do, if we
Yeah.
want to do
Yeah.
a
We'll
quick
do it
little
together. Let's
practice
go for
here,
it.
yeah, is just to close your eyes. And for anyone's watching, of course, if you feel safe and comfortable to close your eyes, then do so. The beauty of this is you can do it anywhere, anytime, eyes open or closed. And just kind of tuning in here to support of any surfaces that your body is making contact with right now. And just allowing your body to really settle into that support. And beginning now to bring your attention and awareness to the sensations in your body as you breathe. So just noticing expansion and rising on the inhale, and gentle falling and contracting on the exhale. And if there are thoughts that arise that feel distracting, and just allowing them to float by like clouds in the sky, to dissolve back into everything. No need to try to catch them or hold on to them right now. And if it's helpful to keep your mind occupied, you can say internally, inhale as you breathe in and exhale as you breathe out. And it would probably feel good now to begin to lengthen your exhale a little bit with every breath. And just letting your inhale naturally follow however it may, focusing on that longer exhale breath. And whenever you naturally reach the end of your next exhale, you can gently release the practice, just taking a few natural breaths here to notice how you feel before you open your eyes. And then opening your eyes whenever you're ready.
Definitely makes a difference on the long. I've never done it with the long exhales. No,
Mm.
I do have to say, I definitely, when I try to do it, first of all, I've never been a breather
Uh-huh.
myself. I've
Yeah.
always, and it was even, I mean, we're going back 20 something years. I got a little things to learn to breathe because I don't take deep breaths. It's
Yeah.
cleansing breaths on it. I've tried to learn when I really conscious to it, my Fitbit goes off like at the 10 minutes till, to try to
Mm.
use that as a cue
Nice.
to take a second and breathe for it. But I also do know when I try to sit and do something like this, I have to do what you said: breathe in, breathe out. I have to say it to
Mhm.
myself because my mind does go, when I find it goes off once or twice and try to bring it back in, I find if I say that, I
Mhm.
stay more focused because
Yep.
you're
Yep.
using your thoughts for something
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of going to left field or somewhere. But it does
Exactly.
make a big difference to try to do that throughout the day whenever you're feeling overwhelmed. And it only took what, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
just,
Awesome. Yeah. The beauty of that one too is like you're not doing something that makes sound, right? Because a lot of breath work might include some kind of sound.
yeah.
And so you can do that in the grocery store if you're feeling overwhelmed. You can do that, driving in the car if traffic is
Yeah.
horrible,
Please
or
do it at a stoplight. Don't do it drive while driving.
well, you can do it
I
with
know what
your
you
eyes
mean.
open.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know what
yeah.
you mean, though.
Yeah. So, right. So doing that consciously throughout your day, you just have to like have this little reminder in your brain, long exhale, long exhale. That's it. And so in those moments where you start feeling like, some intensity in your nervous system, some
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, some stress, so the long exhale, and you don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to do even like the paying attention to your breath in your body first. You can just go right into the long exhale, and it can literally be like 30 seconds or less, and then you're feeling more regulated, more connected with yourself, more, having more capacity to like handle whatever the stresses are that are in front of you.
Well,
Yeah.
it is. It's using the tool of, like I said, to learn to stop the thought of what anxiety and what's stressing you. It interrupts that thought with a calming thought of the breathing, So
Yeah.
then when you start thinking again, you've got more clarity on what the problem may be. It might not even be a problem anymore because you just took that crazy thought out of your head completely.
Right, right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I love what you said too, about like your experience with breath work and how your mind wants to go and, having that like prompt to do inhale, exhale, and saying that to yourself because that's huge. I hear from so many people like, oh my gosh, I've tried meditation. I'm just not good at it because my mind just goes
Yeah.
and I'm like, what am I doing this for? And that's the thing. It's like that is part of human nature is to
Mm-hmm.
have this, what some of us might call a monkey mind, a
Yep.
monkey jumping around, give me a banana, whatever. Like
Yeah. No, no, it's true.
yeah, and so meditation, breath work, all of these kinds of things, they're called a practice for a reason. It's because all that's really being called for is to be present with whatever your experience is in the process of the breathing, meditation, etc. And so just, you being in that place of noticing and like, oh, I have to go back and forth a few times, like doing the breath and then noticing like, oh, I'm not even breathing. My brain's way over here and I don't
Yeah.
know what my body's doing. And like, okay, let's come back to the breath again. And then, yeah, yeah.
But that is, and that's what one of the things I learned, and I like how you reinforced it on there, is people think meditation is just sitting there quietly thinking that you're going to do it just like that. It is
Yeah.
from what I understand of meditation is learning to take your brain from going out here and redirecting it back.
Yep.
That's the true part of meditation,
Right, exactly.
is
That's right.
learning that skill of taking it when it goes out in left field, monkey brain, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
is to learn to bring it back to center
Yep,
and take control of the situation. That's technically meditation. Now,
exactly.
once you get it more mastered, there's different levels of a whole thing, but just the generic, what people use day in and day out of meditation is learning to use the breathing technique or whatever to, like you said, refocus back in from
Yeah.
everything.
Yep, yep, totally. Yeah, I like to say that, um, sitting in a semi-dark room, cross-legged, maybe with
Yeah.
your hands on your knees, right, and emptying your mind of all thoughts, like that's pretty much for people who grew up in a monastery.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of us who are living in a different world, um, we've got the chatter, and so it's about like meeting yourself where you are and doing your best to be present even when there's chatter.
Like I
But
said, and it is just that minute or two is all it really does take.
yeah,
On if you can do longer, that's great. But when it's that chat, when you're getting to that, like you said, that stress level, you could feel as a parent or a mom that you're starting to get angry even with the kids running around and things. I do it even with my dogs. I've got 4 dogs that drive me
right.
crazy sometimes. I
Yeah.
sometimes have to just sit quietly and breathe and just
Hmm.
like try to just before I blow
Yep.
out of proportion. And it goes the same thing in work or
Yeah.
your family life or whatever it may be in the situation. And it's to me, I feel like you said, it's learning to recognize when that bubbling point is coming and
Hmm.
using your technique to bring it back down.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's important too to note that like this kind of technique isn't necessarily meant to be a bypass for doing the work around what's
Oh
triggering
no.
the reactions and the emotions to begin with, right? But it is something that's going to help you to regulate your nervous system a bit in the moment so that you then have more control over, say, choosing a response to a situation instead of just being in like the knee-jerk reaction triggered place.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, why don't you tell
Um,
us a little bit? What do you have? Do you have any kind of free offers or things that you've got going on right now that they can where they can learn some more about you?
Totally, yeah. So the best places to learn more about me, excuse me, is social media. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Phoenix Heart Healing, all one word. And what I'm really excited about coming up right now is a Healthy Holidays retreat for women. Yeah, so we are empowering women to go from stress to celebration in their holiday experience. So that's coming up November 15th to 17th. It's online, and registration is free for general admission. We do have a VIP option as well. It's just a $47 upgrade, and
That's still
um,
good.
yeah. So you get some really nice added features and bonuses if you do the VIP option. And I have partnered with 5 women who are also coaches and healers for this
Cool.
particular retreat. And just the power and the knowledge and experience of this group is just like unparalleled in my experience of collaborating and working with people. So I'm super, super excited. So if you would like to go ahead and join and register, you can go to theinterconnectedself.com/healthy holidays retreat. It's got all the info and the link to register. Yeah, I'm so excited. This is actually like my first big, kind of summit style or
Yeah,
online retreat offering, and I just like could not be working with a better group of women. And
it sounds exciting.
yeah, and we're here to serve women and to help everybody like get through the challenges of the holidays, which can be a big struggle for a lot of people. And
Oh
so
yeah, and especially if there's family issues yeah, that comes up
exactly.
within there. In
Exactly.
the just for everyone who is watching, there will be her Facebook link, I guess is the main link we'll put in the bio.
Yeah,
Nothing else, so that you, and then I'm sure on her page you could find all about her summit, her
totally.
retreat, I should say. So please make sure you go at least check it out and see what it's all about.
Yeah,
It sounds really very interesting, like I said, and why not? What is it going to cost you? Some time, but
right.
it's going to cost you a lot more. It may give you a lot more than you realize. And
Mhm.
it's now is the time to do it before you head into the holidays so that you have those abilities of knowing what to do when that stress levels and those things come up
Exactly.
for you. Um, Basically, what else would be one more thing you'd want to give as encouragement or a thought to our listeners today?
Mm, Yeah, so I think what I would want to share is for each of us to just remember our fundamental humanity. And in those moments where you're particularly struggling, particularly challenged, if you're feeling alone, just remembering that you're human. And one way to do that is just like put your hands over your heart center and take a few breaths here. And just like, I'm doing my best. I'm a human being and I'm here. And that's enough.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's so often that when we're caught in that struggle is when we start to really judge ourselves for the challenge and for having the struggles. And um, let's cut ourselves a break and just remember,
No,
like,
I could 200% agree with that. Like I said, we sometimes don't realize we are, if you want to say human, for it. Everything's not going to be perfect, but we are designed for greatness. We need to tap into that when we can, and
yeah.
realize that it's okay. And our biggest thing is where you are is where you are. It's not who you are.
Oh, I like
That's
that.
where
Yeah.
you are is where you are in life at this point. It does not define you. You have the chance to
Yeah.
change that definition on if you
Beautiful.
want to.
Yeah, I love that. I hadn't heard that before, but I
Yeah,
really
that's
love
part of
that.
our
Yeah.
part of my program that I've with them there, and it's
Lovely.
learning to be who you are. Be you. There's
Mm-hmm.
only one you. You was only one you made for it, and step into that with grace and pride on. And if you're not liking who you are, that's why we are here to help you. We
Mm-hmm.
all,
Yeah.
as coaches, we've been through this before,
Yep.
and went through our own transformation of some sort, and
Yeah.
it's now our time to help somebody else put our hand back and help someone else through it like we were on it.
Exactly.
It's what we are, our purpose is, and we're stepping into what that is. But I want to thank you very much for being my guest today. And as I end all my shows, everyone have a blessed and fun day. Enjoy the journey, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.